all three platforms. We'll go ahead and get started. Really excited to welcome back Elyse Wagner today for the episode.
Hey,
And any questions you have, feel free to put them in the chat. I'll be monitoring the chat as well on LinkedIn or the other platforms. If any questions or things you want to bring up in the episode, let us know and we'll bring it up. So just hang tight and we're almost there. 2 out of 3 lights are on. We're just waiting for that third one to go.
It's like that sign is like loading, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Loading. Okay, looks like we're live. So I'm going to get started in a second. I'm going to read the intro and then we'll dive right in. So welcome back to Coach Connect. Here's where we explore the stories and strategies and insights from trailblazers who are transforming the world of coaching and well-being. What drives their success and what fuels their passion for helping others. We're here to uncover their secrets and share them with you. This show is brought to you by Vibely.io, the all-in-one coaching platform designed to empower coaches with tools, resources, and support we need to help thrive and help our clients achieve meaningful, long-lasting growth. I'm Dr. Diego Salinas, your guide on this journey. As a neuroscientist, physician, health coach, and co-founder of Vibely, I'm committed to celebrating the incredible work of coaches everywhere and helping them unlock their full potential. So together, let's dive in deep into what makes coaching a powerful force of change. I'm really honored to bring back a guest today, Elyse Wagner. She's a leader in the field of clinical health coaching, clinical health psychology, holistic nutrition, and entrepreneurship, with over 15 years of experience in empowering health coaches worldwide. She co-founded the gold standard in health coaching education in partnership with the Institute of Functional Medicine, helping to create one of the first NBHWC-approved health coaching certificate programs. After training thousands of coaches across the globe, Elyse recognized a major gap in the industry. Coaches are graduating filled with purpose and passion, yet often without the tools to build sustainable, thriving businesses and bring their heart into their work to the world. In response, she founded a Nourish Business Academy, a Nourish Life Coach, and soon Nourish Live. Through these initiatives, Elyse equips coaches with the skills, strategies, and confidence to grow successful businesses aligned with their values, because everything begins with nourishment. When coaches are nourished, their business thrive, clients transform, and the impact expands. And when health coaches rise, the world changes. So Elyse, thank you for being back on the episode. So excited to have you back on.
Thank you. Thank you so much for having me. And thanks to everyone who's tuning in, whether it's live or recording. So wonderful to be here.
Yeah. And so maybe for some more guests who maybe didn't watch the last episode, I usually start off with a little bit if you could give us kind of your passion, your origin story, right? Kind of, you had a long career in helping and serving others, but what kind of initiated that spark for you that's driven you so far, and kind of how did we get here?
Yeah, the spark, literally like a fire within me, ignited after my own personal health transformation. Now I've had many along the way, but the very first one started when I was 13 years old. So just a wee little one, a teenager and preteen. And if you can go back in your Rolodex, right, and remember those years, they're often times years of transformation and lots of changes going on, right? And I was having changes happening inside my body, and not so many great ones. I wasn't feeling really good, and I actually will use the word, I hated parts of myself. I hated the way I looked. I hated the way I felt, always gassy, bloaty, just never felt like energized and good. And it made sense because looking back, I was eating the lovely standard American diet and, and I didn't know any better, right? And so what I did know is I had this intuitive connection. And I made this connection that certain foods in me just don't agree. And I went to my mom, who is a health coach, a certified health coach. And now she is years later. But she was a health coach back then, really, when I look at it. And she was my support. And she could see the pain I was in, and I said, Mom, I want to change, but I just don't know how. And I have a feeling a lot of people in the world probably feel that way, even inundated with the amount of information and access to information that we have at our fingertips. And we did back then. This is in the year 2000, so 26 years ago. And my mom, I said I knew certain foods in me just didn't agree. So she set out to look for like a holistic or a dietitian or, someone in the food realm, and no dietitians would see me because of liability issues for a teenager. So or a preteen or adolescent. So we found a holistic nutritionist. And this human being changed my life because of really, she was taking the coach approach way back when. But she was, a holistic nutritionist. That was her title. That was her license. There really, you know, health coaching wasn't even really a thing back then at all. And I just remember that she sat with me shoulder to shoulder. She didn't sit across from me. She asked me a lot of open-ended questions. We co-created a plan together. And at the time, I had no idea, but I was ready, like 10 out of 10, ready, confident, committed. And it was important enough for me to change. Those are the ingredients, that we need for the lovely changes to really take hold. And so I went ahead and put this plan into action. And lo and behold, 2 months later, it was like someone put a pin in me and I just shrunk off of making lifestyle changes. And really, it was started just around food, going from processed foods to whole real foods. And within 2 months, I lost 50 pounds. There was no weighing, there was no restriction, there was no shaming, there was no, it wasn't like your conventional dieting paradigm. And at that moment is, you asked me about like the light bulb or the fire inside me. That's where I was like, two light bulbs came on. One was, holy guacamole, food is medicine. And I want to share that message with the world. And the second one is, wait a second, if I can change and I'm only 13, this power is available for anyone and everyone. But, right, very intentional, but why aren't we harnessing it? And that's really been the question that has pushed me along on my purpose to get my undergrad degree in nutritional sciences, to get a dual master's in nutrition and clinical health psychology. Because I realized that, health isn't just one thing. It's not just food or exercise or sleep or relationships or stress, all really important, but it's this integrity, it's this wholeness. And that's also the mental, emotional, and spiritual and environmental piece as well. And so it led me to get more education, more information. And then in grad school, I got hit with kind of another lovely gift. I call these gifts, even though they were really painful. And some of you might experience, you might have gotten diagnosed with an autoimmune disorder or chronic illness. I got diagnosed with celiac disease. And I remember thinking like, why is this happening to me? Right? Kind of like victim mode a little bit.
Yeah.
And then I realized like, actually, this is happening for me so that I can help others. And that really, I remember standing in my kitchen in Seattle in my grad school crying because all I could eat were like smoothies. Because I was doing a bunch of healing. And I just wanted someone to hold my hand. Honestly, I wanted someone to hold me. I wanted someone to support me. I wanted someone who could see through my fogginess, my brain fog, and all of that, what I need to do, where I needed to go, but also meet me where I was at, have that support, have that accountability. And I'm like, gosh, I wish you could almost clone me, except, not being as sick as I was, and help me forward. Well, be careful what you wish for, because a couple of years later, I helped to co-found the Coaching Academy and help train thousands of health coaches around the world with very similar stories, that were sick and found root cause medicine and wanted to support and serve others. And so, that's kind of what brought me to there. And then, when I was in that space of training health coaches, really seeing health coaches and launching them out into the world, I saw some of the heartache and the pain that I also felt. I don't know if you felt this as well, like graduating from med school. But graduating, I knew I didn't want to just go the conventional route of like getting a job and working in a hospital or doing that clinical. I was definitely built for more entrepreneurship, but no one gave me the skills and tools and taught me not just like all the marketing and, all the stuff, like the tech stuff, how to sell, how to do this, how to do that, but that no one taught me like who I was actually needed to become to truly get my work out into the world. And if you're listening, you might be feeling that same way. It's like, you have a gift and a voice to share with the world, and you're just not, you're filled with knowledge too. And you just are like, how do I package this and get this out into the world that is going to serve people? So I'll be quiet for a second, but that's just in a nutshell. That's how we got. to where we are.
Elyse, I love hearing, like, you still see the passion is still alive in you, right? That fire is still there, and clearly
Mhm.
that engine has gotten you far, right? It's
Oh,
and something you've told me before about entrepreneurship. He said it's probably the fastest road to self actualization. I think it might be the hardest, but it
yeah, yeah,
certainly gets there. You also, I will say one thing, if I can pause for a second.
sure.
It's a more technical thing. I'm getting a message on my screen that my part's not being recorded, but yours is. So if you don't mind, maybe you or I guess, give me 1 minute. It's asked me to refresh. I've never had this before. Part of the fun of going live. So if you can, just don't go anywhere. At least, so I'm going to leave the call for 1 second
Okay,
and be
we'll hold
back
the
on.
fort. We'll hold the fort
All
for
right, I'll
you.
be right back to you. All right, hold the fort down. I'll be right back. Let's see. Okay. Again, I'm also recording on my phone as well, just in case I have to edit it in post. But so
Okay.
we'll be right back and continue on.
He's
Okay. Seems
back.
like we're back on and still recording. Okay.
Wonderful.
Thank
Okay.
you for your patience there. A little part of fun going live, right? All right. So let me guide myself there. At least so I'm really excited to talk with us today because you and I have had so many wonderful conversations. We're both passionate coach trainers, and I actually just came off of Duke's business panel before this call,
Amazing.
right? So
Yeah.
at the end of that program, we also do a business panel. And I'll be frank with you, one thing I told them all is that this is a great panel, but we're not going to cover this all in an hour, right? And that you learn a lot of coaching, but entrepreneurship, like this next phase is very different. And I remember being in that seat myself, and I'll be
Yeah.
quite honest with you, a little, I don't know if the word is shocked or disillusioned, but it was a
Mhm.
lot how far I felt from what I knew was possible to
Yes.
getting it out there, right? And so you and I as teachers loving this stuff, I always say coaching is great, but if we're not doing it, it's just philosophy. And I want this to be
Mm.
something that's a practice, not just a philosophical um, kind of study, right? So curious, like, that's been one of your driving passions as well. What are some of the things that you've seen are those things that students or even after training a long time that we're struggling with, and how can we start helping the profession out and really becoming leaders ourselves? It's a broad question, but I'll leave it broad on purpose at least.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I think it goes beyond like health coaching. It seems like it goes, it's a problem in a lot of different fields and industries, especially if you are in a field like we are, right? So you were trained as a doctor, a clinical doctor. I was trained as a clinical therapist and as a certified nutritionist. And so we were trained essentially to go into a system.
Hmm.
And now that is for more or less, right? And again, like the field is evolving in health coaching, but health coaches, a lot of them were trained as if they were going to be going into a system, like
Mm-hmm.
the healthcare system or the medical system. And that is something that we haven't really seen happen fully. It hasn't been fully accepted just yet. I mean, there are bits and bobs that are getting there, which is wonderful. And then, so there's this um, gap that's just happening between, hey, I've got these skills and these tools and I can really help, but you've got health coaches who are not really trained on how to position themselves correctly to integrate into the clinical setting. And then you've got the practitioners and providers who are not really well versed on health coaching and what is this thing and how do I work with a health coach and support them. And so I think what I'm seeing and what I'm personally experiencing as I've spoken with hundreds, if not thousands of health coaches over the years is, they feel unmoored, they feel disillusioned. They're quite frankly a little pissed off. Like, hey, I spent a lot of time and effort and money and honestly put a lot of heart into my certification. And then they're wondering like, well, where are the jobs? And if there are jobs, why are they paying $15 to maybe $20 an hour? I think I saw one the other day that was actually paying a decent amount that you could actually like live on, right? But that's one in very few, I should say. And so, like I said, I'm just seeing these coaches who are just coming out and just with these brilliant gifts and this heart-centeredness and wondering like, well, great, now what? Now what? Because like you said, there is a gap. It's almost like, if I can explain it this way for a visual, like two mountains that you're climbing, right? So you have this path. You want to climb this mountain to become a health coach because you want to help people. Most of the people in this profession come to this profession because they truly, deeply want to help people. They're not necessarily doing it for the dough. They want to help people. And if you are doing it for the money, I'd say you're probably in it for not the right reasons anyways, because there is money to be made. And at the same point, like income, but also let's talk about impact too. So you've got these skills, the training, you've got the education, and then you kind of get out and you almost are like left at this, like, I will call it base camp. Okay. So you've climbed this and now you're at base camp. And now you're kind of looking around and you're like, well, I could take that trail up that way. I could take that trail, right? But what do I really want to do? And I don't really know. There's a lot of uncertainty. There's a lot of self-doubt. There's a lot of imposter syndrome, all these things that kind of come hurling at us that, we may or we may not be equipped with to take on and transform or alchemize from a mental, emotional, and even a spiritual space, I'll say. And so I see a lot of health coaches kind of just get stuck at base camp. And I'm like, yes. And I love you. And I hate to break it to you. And there is also a really amazing another mountain that we are here to climb. And so, I saw that and I'm like, I get that 100%. And I want to help these health coaches climb this other mountain, especially if they're in the space of wanting to go down more of the entrepreneurial route, even if they're more of like the entrepreneurs who are going into or wanting to go into like practices or get hired. There's still a level of professionalism and I would say leadership to develop, and that happens inside. And I like to use the word embodiment and capacity. The health coaches that I work with on a weekly basis throughout my programs, that is one of the biggest things that we work on. A lot of them think, okay, Elyse is going to come and show me and teach me how to, write the offer, create the offer, write good copy. And it's like, that is part of it. But also one of the biggest lessons that some of the coaches have had to learn is like, if you don't have the capacity within you yet to hold the people's lives that you're actually going to transform, that's actually where the work is. It's underneath the surface, it's the glacier. And so it's everything underneath the surface that we get to work on, that it's the journey, and just as you as health coaches are supporting people on meeting them where they're at in their health and getting them to where they want to go, health coaches are, in essence, meeting themselves where they're at and supporting themselves and transforming and changing. So
yeah. Let me unpack some of that, at least. Yeah. So I think the hard truth one, I think that kind of maybe this is one of the first hard truths, like overall, that is still a lot of work to be done. That base camp analogy is great. Took a while to get a base camp, right? But if you're
Mhm.
at base camp, you haven't climbed Everest, yes. And I'll be honest with you, one thing that came to my mind was you're taking the MCAT. It's a lot of work to study all summer long.
Oh my gosh,
You
yes.
did it, but now you have to do the thing. And I think that I wonder if people um, knew that early on, that wouldn't be such a shock, right? But if you zoom out, most industries, yeah, once you train, you got to now do got to practice it. So it's actually not dissimilar for most industries. I just wonder if sometimes there's a little bit of an expectation mismatch in when
Yeah.
it's presented to students. But I think instead of saying lamenting that, oh, we're at base camp, like, wow, you made it to base camp and now you see these other mountains. And I love that you said you get to do this. You mentioned even your own personal story, Elyse. It
Mhm.
didn't happen to me, happened for me kind of
Mhm.
idea, right? And then when also the entrepreneurship, for me, I think of, you mentioned this, people come to you saying, all right, Elyse, let's do some marketing, let's do the copy, right? But it's about the embodiment in a very parallel way. From your coach listening, what came to my mind is when we work with our clients, right? Of
Mhm.
course, they want the goal setting part of it, right? But I go, SMART goals is not what coaching is about, right? Like it's the internal motivation that's cultivated to give you this, because anyone can give you a SMART goal. That's not the hard part, right? Go
Yeah.
nutritionist. They might give you a SMART goal, and that's the like one you had, who was kind of meeting you were at, and worked on you first to do that, right? So I think in a very analogous way, like people, it's so easy to get caught up with as you're learning something new, those new steps, the marketing funnel, who's your ICP, what the value prop is, all those things. But what's the motivation to do the hard work to understand that, conceptualize that, right? So
Mhm.
the work has to come with him. And I think where I'll maybe then pass the ball back to you, Elise, here is that one thing I kind of noticed, and I think it's changing, and it's maybe I'll talk to you about leadership, is that before it seemed like a lot of people after training were really waiting for someone else to open those paths for them,
Yeah.
right?
Right.
Hey, why doesn't the X, Y, and Z organization get X, Y, and Z for me? Insurance coverage, reimbursement, opportunities, connections, blah, 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 right?
Mhm.
And it's such a disempowering perspective, very paternalistic. Someone else do it for me. And while coaching, we're all about us doing ourselves. And so you said
Mhm.
embodiment. To me, I think this is advocacy.
Mhm.
Right. So
And
if you want to do it from an entrepreneur perspective, like me, do your own thing, cool. But maybe you see your part organization and you're the advocate for coaching within that organization, how this can be integrated more too. So one of my prior guests said it's almost like a moral imperative. It's not like if we think this is going to help people out, morally, we should go ahead and do the work of
Mhm.
helping people out, right? That is work ahead of it, but work will give results too.
Yeah. Yeah. And I like that word advocacy and really using your voice. I mean, when we get out of our health coaching bubbles, right, of the communities that we're in, we're kind of like talking in echo chambers. We need to, I'm a really huge proponent of actually having health coaches get offline and off of Instagram and social media and all that kind of stuff and get into your communities. Every single health coach that I am working with right now in my programs, they are working with clients. They are working and they're getting paid clients. They are putting on workshops with 30 or 40 people in them. And they're doing it because they are integrating into their community and really cultivating relationships. I talk a lot about ROR, return on relationship, over ROI. We need to get rid of this idea of like, what's the ROI? Well, that's a great question and it's a great business question. But at the end of the day, when we peel the layers and the onion back, it's about relationships. This is what this entire field is about, is relationships and connection, heart-centered connection, something that AI will never trump, right? We are electrical beings. We are. Electricity is
Yeah.
running through each and every one of us. And
Yeah.
so there is a difference when we are, in on Zoom together, wherever we're at, Riverside, et cetera. But like also when we're in person. And there are so many people just like right in your backyard that don't even know about you and that you have the opportunity to impact. So I think a lot of the times, there are, different business programs and gurus and people out there. that will give you a model or a protocol or a cookie cutter, something that works or worked for them. But guess what? We are all unique individuals. Just like when we flip this into the health side, not every single person should be eating one way or exercising or sleeping another way or intermittent fasting or God knows whatever. You've got to create a personalized plan for yourself, right? I believe the same is true with business and even with career, right? So if you're not creating your own business, but you are creating your own career in health and well-being coaching, there's not a cookie cutter approach to it. There's a human being at the core, at the center of it, which is you, the health coach, who has very specific value systems that are either uncovered or covered, right? Conscious or unconscious. That's one of the first things we do in any of my programs is like, what are your values? Like, let's figure that out together. But you need to understand that first, and then your vision of like, where are you going? Who do you want to work with? How do you want to work? And ask some of these open-ended questions that you might ask to your clients and throw them back on yourself to really get some clarity before moving forward. And the other piece that I really dive deep into with my people, my health coaches, is the mental, emotional, and even a little bit of the spiritual piece of it too. Really digging into feelings and emotions and having these health coaches get in tune with and reconnected with themselves. I always say, like, I want to give a quick example so we can actually bring this to life a little bit. There's a health coach right now, Lisa, who's in a Nourish Business Academy. And tonight, Thursday, she has her first event ever. So she started a Nourish Business Academy almost a year ago. And when she started, she had the mindset, or didn't have the mindset, of being a leader. Like I think of health coaches, and if you are a health coach and you're listening to this, you are a leader. You are a leader in this industry. I believe that with my bones. And so I want you to start believing that and starting to see that and think that as well. So she didn't really have that belief system or that thought process really ingrained. She's just like, I'm just a health coach. And I'm like, no, you're a leader. You're leading. Yeah. And I know a lot of health coaches say that. And then like, you're not just a health coach. And I'll side note here, like health coaches to me are the key that unlocks this chronic illness epidemic that we have and transcends it. They are the behavior change experts. No one else really knows how to do this. Yes, psychologists, mental health counselors, et cetera, do a little bit of that for sure. But they're the ones who really can come in and internally motivate someone and support them on their journey from where they are to where they want to be, and provide that, support, that accountability, the mirroring, the feedback, et cetera. So anyway, Lisa, we're working, right? We're working through a Nourish Business Academy, all the different things. She's showing up every week. And about a month ago, we get together. It was like an hour long. We were in office hours that I was holding. And it was just her and I. And I said, okay, I'm going to level with you. I want to see you get your work out into the world before our year-long program ends. And I want to help you do this. So let's figure this out together. And sorry, I got puppies. I have puppies that are kind of being interesting together. Let me see if I can grab. You guys want to see a little puppy?
I love dogs so much. Oh my God, what a cutie.
I'm just going to drink for just a second so he can mellow out. It's okay. Yes, thank you. So we get together, we chat, and within an hour, we come up with a beautiful, not, an hour-long masterclass, not something where she's going to be talking, but something that's really aligned with her values and how she actually expresses herself as a health coach. And I use a lot of human design in my work, which is a little bit more of, really understanding a little bit more. I kind of think of it like the DISC or Enneagram in a way, right? You can kind of utilize some of the tools, and it just helps you understand yourself a little bit more. And so she crafted, I just kind of guided her to have this beautiful 90-minute workshop and experience. And she's pretty new as far as like getting her business off the ground. She maybe has like 40 people on her email list and, not like a huge social media presence. And I'm saying this because you don't need all the things and the bells and whistles that everyone tells you need to get your workout, right? And start to get your workout. So we come up with this idea, and she's like, well, I really love this nurse practitioner, the functional medicine nurse practitioner in my area. I could maybe ask her to come and co-host this with me. And then I started thinking about like, okay, well, maybe there's some other sponsors and people who would want to support your work and get it out to their clientele. Well, long story short, the next day she comes back because she had a list of 10 people in her community. Those 10 people all said yes to sponsoring and supporting her work. And so we had another quick chat. And I said, how many people do you want to have on this workshop? You know, what's your ideal? What's your goal? What's your expectation? She goes, 10. I said, okay. She puts out one little like marketing email about it. She gets 4 people. Offer validated immediately, whether it's free or paid, offer validated, doesn't matter.
Mm-hmm.
A couple days later, she messages me, Elyse, I need to close the doors. I'm at capacity. I'm like, what do you mean you're at capacity? She's like, I have 30 people signed up for this workshop. And I'm like, you're okay, cool. And I said, well, I want to encourage you lovingly and challenge you lovingly to keep the doors open. Like you're here to lead and you're here to impact people. And you are already impacting 30 people. Well, you know, is it so bad if we just keep the doors open a little bit more, right? And see how many people you can get. And she's like, okay, fine. I'll open it up. I'll open up 5 more spots. Next day, filled. I go, let's go to 40. She goes to 40, filled. Last night, I was at dinner. I just couldn't help myself. I messaged her. I'm like, okay, I just have to know, where are you at? And she's like, I'm at 40 and I really am at capacity right now. And I said, honor that. Honor that's where, you know, like that's your limit, right? For right now. And this is what we talk about in our programs, like capacity. Like, do you have the capacity to hold the space for other people in the transformations, right? And some of this deep work that you do. And so I'm just so stoked for her. I'm excited for her that she is getting her voice out into the world. She is hosting these 40 people. She's bringing in, collaborating with a provider and a practitioner, and who gets her work. They have good rapport, everything. And then these 10 other people who are supporting her work in the community, like brilliant. And what a way to, you know, for your first event, like as a health coach and business owner, to have 40 people. I think I had like 6 people, and like one of them was my mom, you know.
If I had 4, I'd be happy to start off, right? Like to your point, yeah.
So she's just over the moon. But this is what happens when you root down and you do the work necessary to embody it, and also, you know, have the capacity to hold this space. Because, you know, this isn't just like, oh, I'm going to teach you to do X, Y, Z. It's like I'm holding space here. We're talking about, you know, big things, right? Your health is a big deal. It's the number one thing, you know. I mean, at least for me, it's one of my top values.
Health is a real wealth, right?
Yes.
Yeah. Elyse, that phrase you said, ROR, that I absolutely love that. Return on relationships, right? I mean, if you want to zoom out, what community is about well-being. Well-being is about community and relationships, right? We're social beings. To your point about, you know, AI, right? And why would you apply the same principle that is really much a driving force of our lives to your business? And after doing this for a while, it is so true. And the thing is, it's non-linear, as I would say to people listening, right? I think I was used to studying where things are linear, right? If you give this many milligrams of this medication, you expect this many drops in your, you know, blood pressure, A1C, whatever the thing is, right? And you're expecting now, but life and relationships are non-linear. Sometimes it's a bunch of, my mom always says, no one's going to knock on your door and ask you to go on a date or give you money for your business. You got to go out in the world for those things, right? And sometimes you might say, well, I don't know, I'm just new to coaching, but you're not new to the world.
Very
right.
true.
There's already that just came to me as I said, as a kid. First time I said it, oh, it's Elyse. You inspired me, right? But really and then I also think too, you know, when I was reading about marketing and sales, it's like an MBA to learn this stuff. And like, I realized something, like we think about marketing always like the funnel, the email list, but we're marketing in person all the time. Like how I started my practice was like just in-person relationships, right? I would do events, I would do workshops, and people saw me consistently throughout time. They go, what do you do? I'm a coach. What is that? They like my energy. We vibe for whatever reason it is, right? So I think people think, well, I need to know how to understand how to create like what was it, a Brunson guy that creates funnels, right? Like you are always being who you are. And one of my previous guests had mentioned, she's like, I saw you at a conference a few years ago. I wasn't sure about you, right? Because this new guy, who is he? The valley person. But like, you know, and again, we as coaches, we've all been sold stuff. Everyone's promised a
Sure.
million stuff. He's like, but I saw you every year, consistent. You're the same person in every interaction I've had, right?
Yeah.
And that's what led you to trust and belief, right? So I think the
Mhm.
ROR is huge, but also keep in mind it's non-linear, right? You never know. Um, Even now, as we've gone from B2C to B2B, there have been times because I was helpful on a call to some new student for no particular reason. I just wanted to help
Mhm.
out.
Yeah.
3 years later, they're now the director of something and we're collaborating.
Yes.
So I think the relationship part is super important. And if maybe I'll add a hard truth spin to this,
Mhm.
because we mentioned hard truths, right? I kind of want to bring them on. Sometimes people are saying, well, I'm afraid about, competition. You mentioned
Mm.
mindset. I think
Yeah.
the biggest limiting factor for me, a lot of people I train, is that mindset, right? Because I first heard it was the tech stuff. We built a tech to blow that barrier, and people still weren't completing the profile, still not creating a service page,
Oh,
still not creating an event page. So I was like, oh, we thought the limiting factor was knowing about marketing or knowing about tech. Lower those barriers, we realized the real limiting factor. And
mm.
I would say our profession is competition is not the limiting factor. There are plenty of people who can afford a session every other week, just don't know it's valuable enough, right? So I think we really have to collaborate, refer to our fellow friends and colleagues who a slightly different version of what we do,
Yeah.
back each other up, and that community, that collaboration, I think is what to embrace more of. And that limiting mindset. If I can, sorry, at least I'll add one more thing here.
No,
I had
that's all
one
good.
of my former students.
Mhm.
I trained her a few years ago, and at some point, I think last year, I saw her pop onto one of my live demos. Right, and I recognized
Mhm.
her. I shared this. I shared one part of the story before earlier about her asking questions ahead of time, which were well-meaning, but I think was really an avoidance cycle, and I called it out. But
Right.
later on, she sent me an email a few months later. Was like, "Hey, I'm seeing people on Viably who have like 3 years experience, 5 years experience, 10 years experience." She's like, "How can I? I don't feel comfortable. How can I compete with them?"
Yeah.
And I
Yeah.
was like, "The only way to get 5 years experience is to not quit for 5 years." Like at some point, they also only had 6 months experience. I'm like,
Yeah.
I'm not magic. I've been doing it for 9 years now, whatever it is, right? Like there's nothing about time. So let me pause there. But at least there is so many hard truths, but the actual solution isn't as hard as we think it is, even though the truths can be very hard.
Mhm.
So what if we
Mhm.
continue kind of sharing some of those hard truths? I think maybe a
Yeah.
little wake up call for us in the industry to kind of face and then see how we can overcome or accept those challenges.
Yeah, no, you brought up a lot of points here. I want to kind of go back and weave in here. So, first and foremost, I'll say if you are coming to health coaching, again, I've talked to thousands of health coaches throughout the years. 9 out of 10 times they're doing it because they have a calling and there is a voice or a little nudge or something that is guiding. It could have been in the space of like a disease, right? Or an illness or something like that. But if you think about your why, you know, and I bring this up to my health coaches a lot that I train inside my programs. We talked about this Monday. Said, what's your why? Most of them broke out into tears because it impacts them at a deeper emotional level than just the mindset and the mental piece. So
Mm,
I agree. Mindset's huge. Attitude is, part of that. But I look at it a little bit more holistically from the lens of there's mindset, but it's got to be connected to your heart set as well and developing that, and I want to go into so a couple things about this. Like, don't ever quit. If you have this calling inside of you and you went and became a health coach, there's a reason for it. There's a reason why. I met with a health coach. I'm lucky to have again these return on relationships, right? I back in 2019, I was at a conference in Seattle, and one of my students had come up to me, and we, connected, and she's been a part of my life ever since. And 7
mm,
years ago, right? And she messaged me and she's like, Elyse, I'm flying in from Seattle to Chicago and I want to meet with you. And I said, let's do it. And I put her on the calendar. We met last Friday. We had tea. She asked me a really, and we, when we get together, this is not surface level. We go deep, right? This is not a
I know
veneer.
how you are, Elise. I love that.
And we went deep, and
Yeah.
she we felt safe enough, which I'm very humbled and grateful for and honored that, the trust is there. And she did give me permission to share this because I shared it in my newsletter yesterday. And I asked her if I could share this story, but she shared with me that a colleague of hers, she's in her early to mid 60s, and a colleague friend of hers suddenly just died of a heart attack last week. And she said, it's really shaken me. And I said, I get that. I understand that wholeheartedly. Because I had that experience with my best friend who died when I was 25. She was 27. So I realized life is precious and it's short.
Yeah.
And she said, I don't know, like health coaching, like, should I just throw in the towel? Like, maybe I just shouldn't do it. And I didn't answer her, I'm not here to give anyone advice or tell them who to be or what to be or anything, right? But I did take the coach approach in a different way. And I just said, let me ask you a question. Tell me about what you would do if you did something differently. She's like, I just go get a job just to, pay the bills and whatever. And I asked her, where would that be? What would you do? And she's like, I don't know, work at a supplement store or something like that. And I said, how would you feel working there? And her face said it all. She just kind of scrunched up and contracted, right? And our bodies talk to us. Our emotions talk to us. And I think a lot of the times we've been told collectively as a society, like, push that down, don't feel, you don't need to, don't stop crying, right? I've already cried like 5 times a day, our bodies talk to us and they tell us, especially those emotions, they're like little check engine lights, little guideposts for us. And they're valid, right? They're not always excuses, but they're valid. And they move through us. And it's really just energy. Emotion is just energy in motion. That's all it is. And so she constricted. And I said, okay, you all have a pen, a paintbrush, whatever you want. You all are creating your own narrative and your own story of your life. And you get to decide if you like the way it's going or you don't like the way it's going. And if you want it to change, you can change. This is what your expertise is. You know how to do this, right? And so I encouraged her and I said, paint me a picture. Actually, just tell me about, she ran a program that I offered back in December called Retreat in a Box. And so she put on her own retreat a couple months ago, and she had like 8 women. And I said, tell me about that. And her face just lit up like sunshine. Oh my God, it was so fun. And we did this, and I had this conversation, and like, they want this. And then I got this, a talk that she's doing next week at a gym. And I'm going to be talking to all these the gym members. And I said, what an interesting difference in how you've shown up and how you've lit up, right? There's a light inside of all of us, right? It's calling. And I said, this was a little advicey. This is what you need to follow though. The light, what is lighting you up? Joy is your job, right? And so, and of course there's ways to obviously to make, I can hear maybe some people being like, okay, but how is joy going to get me paid? Right. And it's like, there's a process to that. So I'll say that. So don't give up, especially if you have this calling inside of you. You're here for a reason. And there's not many of you. I mean, I think you put a statistic out there the other day. I don't remember how many health and wellness coaches there are collectively. And as a collective,
Miriam did research for the numbers. We're not that big of a organization, to be honest with you. Like, there's again, we're not a competitive field. There's so many people in the world who could use this services, and the vast majority have no idea what we really do. So we got to be leaders and advocate and let them know what this offering is.
Yeah. And get out and talk about it and get out into your community. I make it a point. I really do walk my talk. I went the other day to the post office and talking to the lady there, and I like to talk to I can talk to a wall, but I was talking to the lady behind and she's helping me, and I was sending out some things, and she's like, what's in here? And for all my students, I give them mugs or journals and things like that. And so I was sending out some mugs, and I said, well, she's like, well, what do you do? And I said, I train health coaches. And she's like, I never heard of a health coach. And so I took 2 minutes out of my time in my day to just simply quickly educate her on what a health coach is and give her a real life example. Like, you know how like you have a personal trainer and they tell you like, do these exercises, or you have a nutritionist and they tell you eat this food, or you go to the doctor and they tell you to do all these things. But then when you like leave the office, you don't really have that person who's guiding and supporting you. And if you have those questions, you're not really sure who to turn to. I said, well, a health coach is that person who really is your support, your advocate, keeps you going, accountability partner, and just guides you back to yourself. And she's like, I need that. Right. And so I think we sometimes like try to get really heady about it and almost academic, and someone who, transforms and helps with, internalizes motivation and blah, blah. And I'm like, no one knows what that means. We need to stop talking to people like that. We need to really meet them where they're at, and again, it goes back to, I think you've seen my flower model, right? It's like my little philosophy. And so for everyone like listening, if you can imagine springtime here in Illinois. So we've got like these flowers shooting up, and you see this big, beautiful flower, and it's connected to a stem. It has leaves on it. It's connected to like, roots underneath the ground. And so that's kind of I'm going to walk you through the model really quick, because I think a lot of people right now in our society, they just want the results. They want that big, beautiful flower.
Right.
And as health coaches, and even as a lot of healthcare providers, they just work on the stem, like right above the flower, which is behavior and goal setting, right? And the way that I really like to support the health coaches who are getting their actual work out into the world is that we actually need to go we need to root down, go downstream, down the stem, down into the feelings, the emotions, the needs, the thoughts, that whole cycle, and the values. And you need to first understand that about yourself and how you work and what's important to you. And what are what are some of the self-imposed ceilings or limitations that are coming up in your mind, right? And sometimes we have to break through that first. And we also have to, I think, apply that model to our clients, people that you're working with, and not just work on the, what are we going to figure out for the goal for today? It's like, when people come and meet with me, I'm like, how are you feeling? And don't give me good as an answer, because that's not it.
I always want my clients to say good. I go, good means a lot of different things off of people. What does it mean to you whenever they say good?
Yes. Yeah.
Elyse, so much there. Let me try to digest some of that. So earlier you mentioned emotions are energy in motion, and to me, I would say they're data, right? They're data of how you're feeling, what's a blocker, what's not a blocker. And I ask all my clients, I go, only you know how you feel. I can't an fMRI machine do a blood result to ask you how you feel. This is purely self-reported. So this is both for us as providers, as like helping clients, but also us in our leadership journey. Like those, here's a little side story. Like it wasn't until like in my 30s I realized I have ADHD. I like often things, which for hospital work was great. I could able to bounce around different rooms and keep all in mind and kind of make an associate mind. But then where's I going with this? Speaking of ADHD, there's so many thoughts flooding my mind currently that I want to go. Oh, that like procrastination, right? We to your analogy here of the flower. People say, okay, procrastination. Let's go to more calendars and more whatever, breaking it down and Pomodoro technique and blah blah, right?
Yeah.
But most procrastination just files down to emotion dysregulation. There's some reason that you're not getting it started. It's emotion dysregulation is the root of procrastination, not necessarily disorganization. Now, some people do have a hard time with making a list, but even when you give someone a list, it's the execution that's hard, right? Emotional regulation. So emotions are not a four-letter word. They're part of what drives us. My mom was a therapist, or was my therapist too, and she always says we're emotional beings who have the capacity to reason sometimes. And the older I get, the more I see that. But one emotion you mentioned is joy. And I think to me, joy or purpose fulfillment, right? Something that we crave because, and here's where I think a differentiation or the nuance is, this is hard work, but that joy is the inspiration to do the hard work. Like, so do you enjoy the grit all the time? Not necessarily, but is it fulfilling and you feel joyful for having done it? That's that differentiation, because no matter what you do, it's going to be hard, right? It's like choose your hard, right? It's hard to lose weight, it's hard to stay unhealthy, right? And so
Right.
to not shortchange that, not every single step may be joyous on that journey from base camp. You may have a blister or two. You may be really struggling to get to that next base camp, right? But the joy comes from doing it. And a phrase I've started making up a few years ago is love inspires the hard work it requires.
Ooh, beautiful. Love
And so I
inspires
think about
hard work it requires. Yes. Yes.
it's
Period.
it's like love. So it's what's what people be full of love, full of joy, full of that life force, because no matter
Right.
what it is hard work to start your solo practice, start a big whatever those things are, right? So, and I used to, when I was younger, I also think it was joy or work, like they were more mutually exclusive. And I had to do a lot of my own personal work, and still, frankly, am after
Mhm.
burnout from residency
Yeah.
to unify those worlds again. And it's still a constant struggle, right? And let me see. The last thing you said too about doing it locally, my co-founders know I was on Tuesday was International Rollerbladers Day. I had no idea. Like, you
Good.
should
No
have fun,
idea.
right? And
Cool.
I went so the South Florida groups all connected together, and everyone went to, I think it was like 300 skate or something like that. And we all kind of went out for like a big loop. And if two people ask, "What do you do?" And I'm like, perfect opportunity, to bring it up. And somebody goes, "Oh, you
Okay.
help people just make steps." I'm like, beyond that, we work on the motivation, right? And like putting it to their language, right? Because it gets so wordy. And I definitely love pontificating. And if I'm talking to a bunch of physicians who want to know the ROI here,
Right,
I
right,
will
right.
use the neural language, right? But we have to be able
Sure.
to communicate this and get awareness, interest in this. So at least so much. I'll be honest, thoughts flooding my mind. But where, I guess, are those leaders or coaches when you listen to this episode who maybe are saying, "Okay, you got my attention. I got to do a little more here," right? What's that next hard truth that they might need to have to say, all right, what does it mean how can they embody or start developing their own leadership qualities
Mhm.
and to help the field out? Like I say, do it not just for you, do it for everyone. If we all push together, I
Mhm.
think there's a real big potential. That's how we're going to do that hockey stick growth, right? So
Right.
what would you say to those who now maybe we got in contemplation at least, but they're saying, all right, but now what?
Yeah, now what? Well, okay, one thing. I wanna go back. I wanna answer that question, but I also wanna go back and talk a little bit about, I know a lot of, I talked to a lot of health coaches, and they're like, "Well, I just don't wanna do the marketing, and I don't wanna do the sales," and it's like, "Why? What's the why behind it?" What's stopping you? And when we really get down to it, it's really because no one's actually ever taught them how to do it. So, of course, you don't want to do something when you really don't have the skills and the tools to do it. If you said go be a doctor,
Mm,
I'd be like, no, because I don't know how, right? I don't have the skills and
right,
tools
right.
that you have, right? But it's funny because it is a little bit easier. And I teach sales in my course, in our business academy, and the health coach is like, "This is like having tea with a friend. This is like a coaching conversation. It's not salesy or icky or gross or, how do you say it? Like everyone, and we all have our own preconceived notions of sales. Like you say that word and a lot of people can
Yeah,
stress,
four-letter word, sales.
right? They think of like the whatever, greasy car salesman. But
Yeah.
we all have our own beliefs and assumptions that we make about things. And so that's one piece of it. But so with the marketing piece too, I say that, we'll be on our calls talking about things because I always start our calls in actually a very kind of gestalty way where I just say, like, what's going, what's happening, right? We talk a little bit about that. Everyone kind of comes to the table and they share personal, professional things that are happening. And I'll be listening. And I'm like, that's a post, or that's a blog post, or that's a newsletter, or whatever, because you can repurpose all this stuff. And
Yeah.
all they're talking about is their personal wins or their personal hurdles that they've overcome. And I'm like, just talk about that. Like,
Mm,
that is marketing. And it's even better because it's a story and it's a personal story. And what you're doing is you're actually adding vulnerability. And what does vulnerability do? As lovely Brene Brown talks about, is connection, right? And I do believe that we're entering a time, if I can zoom out, right? For the most part, you've been in the medical system, I've been in the system, both providers, but at the same level too, I've been on the other side of it. I've been sat on the other side of the couch, or I've been in the doctor's office, in the ERs, all that kind of stuff. And we're missing a huge human piece of the pie, which is
Mm.
really being with people, like being with them and not like being tied to a timer, you know? And actually, a side note, what I've seen is that when my health coaches do role playing together and they're supporting each other, uh, yes, I'm looking at the time and things like that, but I'm also seeing the amount of transformation that's happened because you've almost taken that limitation away. Does that make sense? And
Oh,
I
so
think
much more than you know from my personal practice. I'll give you a story there, but I definitely am resonating with that.
I think what can happen when we take that like invisible pressure off of time and we can actually just be
Yeah, yeah,
present with someone. And that's such a
yeah,
gift
yeah,
in and of itself. And so what I've seen is just transformation, like actual transformation and aha moments and awareness and consciousness come to the forefront. And I do think that that's one of the health coaches who are out there, who you said are not very many, right? Like, yes, there's a couple, maybe 100,000 or something, maybe more. But compared to how many doctors and nurses there are and whatnot, there's not that many of us, and that creates actually a blue ocean. So you talked a little bit about, I'm weaving in some of the things we've talked about before. It's
yeah.
like competition, and I am here to tell you, you don't have any competition. Stop saying and stop creating your world. Every time you say the field saturated, there are no jobs, you are creating your world. So let's stop that and let's create what we want to see. And I think that we get to actually do that together. And we're going to be doing that together at the Health Coach Leadership Summit, which I'm sure we'll chat about in a second. But we all get to create this field. It's literally being created as we're speaking. And so let's be very mindful about what we're speaking out into the field, and
Yeah.
and building and crafting. Again, using your voice, using your energy. And yeah, I don't know. I'm going to stop there because it's gone off.
You and I in a good way can go all day. Let me before we talk about the summit, which we will
Mhm.
get to. We'll go a little over. It's okay with you, Elise. We'll go a little over time, and I actually love to if you're open to it.
Yeah.
Before, let me reflect back on a few more of those things too. Because kept saying during the panel at Duke, uh, you're right. Sales, even for me initially, was like, oh no, you have to tricks, and it's like no, it's and when you for all your coaches out there, every once in a while now, if you get an unknown number, pick it up. Or when you go buy something and you realize a lot of the skill set, and again, not the foundation, the heart, but the
Right.
actual what you're doing
Yeah.
is not that dissimilar, right? They go, why do you want to buy this? Oh, they're asking for my future with change. What makes now a good time, right? Like objections, there's a double-sided reflection. Well, you can't afford it, but we have a payment plan. I was like, there's actually a lot of the same, more sales skill set
Yeah.
than you might be aware of.
Yeah.
And then when you combine that with, and here's the thing, I think a lot of people that they mentioned that kind of used car salesman kind of analogy is that there's this incorrect assumption if you do sales, you have to be disingenuous with yourself or go against your values. And the whole point when done well is that you are your full authentic self there. Do not sell something you do not believe in. I believe in what I'm offering people. I also know if it's not a good fit, I've told people away, say, I think you're too
Yes.
people pleasing. I'm not going to challenge you. I don't think you want to challenge yourself enough. You have to work with me, right? And it's more honest, right? So sales should be about honesty. It's not a
And I will
trick
add that
to get
that's
something.
a leadership skill too. I talk about leadership
Mm.
in terms of vitamins and nutrients. So I'll say like the uh, micronutrient or leadership micronutrient, and vitamin A, right? A is for me is accountability, right? Or you know,
Authenticity.
vitamin I, right? Just integrity, authenticity. Yeah. And just being you. I mean, that's I'll give you just a quick side note here, right? I was at this multicultural night with my daughter the other night, and someone we knew just got a puppy, like we have. And she came up
Mm.
to me, she's like, Elise, how is it going? And I said, some days I think he's the cutest thing ever. And some days I just want to leave him outside and maybe someone will
Yeah.
take him, right? And I was
Yeah.
just being that was very real. Is it nice? I mean, whatever. It was we have these ebbs
Yeah.
and flows.
Yeah. Yeah.
And she goes, oh my God, I feel that way too. And she texted me later and she goes, that was such a breath of fresh air. Thank you for saying that. Like, obviously I would never do that with this
Right.
puppy, but
Yeah.
and didn't even matter. It was just the fact that I could be real and authentic and transparent. There's trust that's built. And then she thanked me. She's like, everyone else I talked to who's just gotten dogs, it's just like, oh, it's great. It's, rainbows and sunshine. And I said,
Hmm.
they're lying. They're lying.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah. Oh.
come on, let's just be real. Right. And so I think that that's another leadership component is just coming in and sharing more of you. And I think sometimes that can be hard for us is we don't always want to share, right? And if you think of that again from that provider mindset, especially, being a therapist, I'll speak about that. Most therapists don't sit there and share about their personal life. It's all about the client or the patient. And yet I want to know a little bit about you. Like, I'm just sharing everything. Like, who are you? Right. And so I think as a leadership step, we do get the opportunity to share, with some discretion, of course, and discernment of like who we are. Why are we here? What are we doing? Yeah, I've experienced that. Or, oh, that's really difficult. I understand that too. Right. And that just creates this
Yeah.
bonding and this rapport, this connection that actually drives and fuels the relationship further. And it's actually
Yeah.
one of the first steps that I talk about in the sales system that I teach, the nurse sales system. It's bonding and rapport, connection, trust.
Yeah. It's so funny because you look at sales, what they say about trust, and I'm like, to me, transparency equals trust, right? Like,
Mhm.
if you can be like, yeah, I have or don't have this, like, I'm not trying to pull a magic on anyone because ultimately you're still going to serve them. They'll see right through it eventually. And you mentioned puppies, but also going off with little kids, obviously. I think humans are actually innately pretty good at picking if we're authentic or not. As we get
Mhm.
older, we lose how to put the label on that, but like something's a little
Right.
off. But people pick up if we're authentic or not.
Mhm.
And here's the thing, we are not for everyone and no one's for us. And it's not about that. Right. And even going to sales, at first you want to cast a wide net. I've learned from both their books, but honestly from the hard work of doing it, it is
Yeah.
better to say, you know what, we're not a good fit here. We don't have this, or like you're not ready for this, or like entrepreneurship's not for you. Like it is
Or
a
I'm
better
not a
and
good
it's
fit
a
for you. I can't help you get to where you want to go. Like that
exactly,
to me,
exactly.
you're going to have way more respect and probably honestly even get some referrals as well,
The
and I
ironic part there, at least, is that it actually we think it's going to hurt us, but actually being authentic. And here's an example where I think combining the heartfelt approach with also maybe the traditional how tos, right? So, for example, we have on the platform studies show that there's more conversion with video than just pictures and words. And to your point, organic content is better than pre-recorded content. So there's just statistics. It's just facts, right?
okay, yeah.
And so some coaches say, well, like, on our platform, you can put a video intro into your profile. And some say, well, I'm not sure. I don't know, Diego. I'm not an extrovert like you. Or something. I go, you don't need to be me. Not everyone likes me, first of all. Like, not everyone wants, and I'm not this way when I'm coaching someone. I'm very different in
Right.
that setting, like to be clear, right? But I'm authentically myself.
Mhm.
They see that as consistent. But I go, here's a reality of a lot of summarize a lot of marketing and sales. People like us or don't like us for reasons we don't fully understand. It's a numbers game. I go, some people want someone who's a little quieter on video, someone who's louder, who's this, who's that, right? So here's a combination. Statistics show these tools help up more. How do you be your authentic self? So it's not about,
Mhm.
well, I don't feel confident on video. Yeah, most of us maybe not like doing it, but it's going to help you out more. No matter what, we studies show videos help more than only pictures and words.
Yes.
Find the video that works for you, is authentic for you. Do it that way.
This is a really important point I want to talk about. I want to talk about visibility for health coaches because I have a theory. Doesn't mean it's true. And I'm totally fine to be proven wrong. But I have this theory that right now in this field of health coaches are not truly seeing themselves as the powerful beings that they are
Mm,
and the work that they do here because they've been told you're not an expert. You can't do this. You need to stay in the scope. You're not a provider. They've been told all these things like, and they're like, leave like, oh my God, I feel like my hands are just tied or my voice is like, what do I even say? I can't even say anything, God forbid, you know? And I'm like, well, that's not really serving us right now, you know?
Right.
And so it creates this false belief in us that we're not really, or they're not like worthy or whatever it is to be, out in the world giving their gifts away. And I'm here to say, like, no, I think we need to first start seeing, you need to first see yourself as a really potent, key in this field of healthcare and medicine and what we're here to do. And
Mm,
part of this is leadership and stepping into becoming this leader, not just the health coach, the leader in this healthcare field and a leader, right? And so part of that is going to require really seeing yourself for who you are, what you are here to do. And I think that when we start collectively, seeing that and owning that within ourselves, the world is going to start seeing that, right? So it's that reflection, right? But it's that internal reflection first, which is going to create that external world.
yeah. Yeah. Can I add to that at least too? Because we talked about authenticity earlier, and I'm wondering, this is kind of
Mhm.
my assumption based off my experience, right? That we talk about social media and marketing too, that there's this, I want to clarify to coaches, we're not necessarily influencers or models, right? Like our job is not to do, like someone say, well, Dale, how can I help someone with weight management if I've also struggled with weight management? I'm like, oh, you're gonna be way better because you realize how hard it is.
Yeah.
And that's not linear, right? I
Right.
mentioned this in a prior episode, but one time one of my clients, I literally paused the session. We're talking, she goes, Diego, your life would be so easy, you know how the brain works. And I was like, can I pause our session entirely? No one really knows how it works. Not me, not here. We're trying to figure it out. I go, and even if you can wave a magic wand and source to the universe, whatever you want to call it, put that information in my head, it doesn't mean that just because I know about negative thought traps doesn't mean I don't have negative thought traps, right? Just because I know behavior doesn't mean I struggle with making changes sometimes myself as well, right? And so that's where the authentic part comes in, because your point, people
Mhm.
actually prefer you to be authentic and be real with them
Yeah.
versus sold the bill of goods and then it's exciting for 3 minutes and then you're out a bunch of money and disillusioned, right? So there's such a way
Right.
to be authentic without hurting your credibility, right?
Yes.
And then also to differentiate that we are not necessarily posing in a picture of us at the beach to help someone with weight loss. That's not what this is about. We understand behavior change. And here's an analogy I'll throw out, at least, that
Yeah.
may help our healthcare workers too. Let me think. I had a friend, one of my classmates in med school. He went on to being a cardiologist. Really, just he loved the heart, man. This guy was always reading KGs, just has his passion.
Mhm.
He's overweight. Right? I remember one time we were working in a remote area, and someone had made a comment to me, like thinking I would agree with them, say, oh, how can I trust this guy? He's overweight. And I was like, his job is not to be skinny. His job is to read EKGs, understand cardiograms, and give you medication. I don't
Mhm.
care what his heart does. It's not his job is to have
Yeah.
a heart like Lance Armstrong or some other athlete. Right. And so kind of differentiating that space. Of course, you want someone to walk the walk. But
Yes.
walking the walk with change means you're constantly falling. And what I realized actually recently, my own self, is that
Yeah.
I thought I'd get better at this. I'd fall less often. No, actually, as I get better, as I get more advanced, I have to learn to get up more quickly. I'm actually going to fall more. I'm falling more often now than I did
Yes.
a while. It's like a curve. At first, you fall a time, then you're good, and I'm like, oh, I'm not getting worse. This is just a phase of getting up way more quickly. And there's a real.
Yes.
It's hard, but it's a way to authentically communicate that. Because now we are a partnership. I'm not better than you because I'm a coach or in neuroscience or in medicine.
Right.
This is the human condition. Isolated this way, how can we help each other, or I can support you in that journey without making it about me, but what I've learned from others and the science of this.
Yeah, and I think that's also what makes it sustainable too, because we don't
Mm,
wanna just, you know, go at this and then fall off, right? And because we've gotten burned out. And so I think when a couple things, like when you come from that heart-centered space, when you're fueled by love, right? What you're saying is like that's what helps to create the sustainability of this. And then there was another piece too that we talked about with going back to the comparison. Like
yeah,
I think comparing ourselves to others is like creative kryptonite. It is paralyzing. It's so paralyzing. And
creative kryptonite. Yes.
when you, again, you all have this gift within you. You've all had, and I could be here, there's probably lots of other, people out there that are supporting health coaches and creating and building their careers and their businesses and other aspects of their well-being. But I don't look at them. I don't focus on that, right? Because again, when I focus on expands, I focus a little more on myself and like, what am I here to create? And then I want to share that with you guys. Like, you all have a gift inside you. You might be struggling with perimenopause. Another person might be struggling with perimenopause, but guess what? The way you talk about it is going to be completely different. You're going to have different stories. You're going to have things that have maybe supported you and worked for you. And that's going to speak to a different type of human being who's going to, you might be hearing similar things, but what that person said really, stuck with you. And so I just want to remind everyone, like, please don't think of this as like a oversaturated market, or that you shouldn't say your piece because someone else you watched on Instagram or LinkedIn or Facebook said it. No, use your voice, especially when you feel like you should be quiet or you shouldn't, that's the time to use it, even when it feels a little shaky and scary and like, I don't know, should I say this? Yes. Someone out there needs to hear it. 1,000,000%. 1,000,000%.
Yeah. And maybe Lisa's kind of ties in nicely, that last thing, your voice, that leadership may sometimes be controversial. The whole point of this talk is a hard truth, right? And that, you mentioned the story earlier about your, was it, I think, Lisa in your academy who was doing the workshop, that you pushed her, but also knew her zone of proximal development, how to push, but to that zone of growth, not so far that we can't reach it. And I think an uncomfortable truth is that, leadership may be controversial at times, or people may resist change. In the behavior change field, we know people resist change, right? You and I didn't get here from following all the rules in many ways, right? And I always, people who know me well know I say, I'm looking for those David to throw rocks with me. Who wants to throw rocks like Goliath, right? Like so it is going to work. It may not be easy. It may not everyone agree with you, but that's how change kind of happens, right? So it is a little bold and to put yourself out there sometimes, but that's how leaders are developed, created, and help others too. So with that, Elyse, if we can maybe transition to talking about what led you to start the Health Coaching Leadership Summit and kind of the impetus there, and more about this project you're working on now.
Yeah. So, the event that we've got coming up, and I know Vibely and got a number of people in the organization who are going to be a part of it, which is, I'm just so excited. And I'm really so grateful for all like the outpouring of support that we're going to have. Got people from the National Board, the Institute for Functional Medicine, Vibely, Institute of Behavior Change coming out to speak. And then, we've got real live students and graduates from A Nourished Life and A Nourished Business Academy sharing, and sharing from a space of serving and also of leadership. And like I said, I mean, this is where we're at. This field of inflection is that it's time to start building leaders, not just health coaches. We're building health coach leaders. And so, this is an event that is taking place May 19th. It's going to go for a week long. It'll be just one session every day for 90 minutes. And it's a journey that you're going to take. My intention is that you are going to, come into it as a certified health coach and leave as, a leader in this field. And you're going to have the pathway to do it. We're baking in my favorite, vitamin A, like I talked about, accountability. I'm all about accountability, but like really showing up and doing the work. What I've seen is like when you show up and you do the work, guess what? You do get the results, and it's that baking in that consistency as well. And so we're going to be talking, oh my gosh, on a lot of different topics.
If you give us a little highlight, I know there's a lot going on, hard to summarize, but I'm excited about them. So if you can give people a little preview of some of the things maybe that you have planned out, a little appetizer.
Yeah, a little appetizer. Ooh, I love that. So we're going to start with first day is really like kind of like a wake up call. And we are going to really dig into some hard truths. And I like to treat adversity and opportunity the same and like run straight at it. So we're going to be talking about some of the, big issues that are rumbling around in the health coaching, field. And we're going to start though, like, where do we come from? Where did this field even come from? Uh,
Mm.
where are we now? Right. And where are we going? And so that's really going to set the stage. We're going to move into day 2. Because if you're going to lead a field, you need to learn about self-leadership, and you need to start learning to lead yourself first. And so that's day 2. And then we're going to roll into day 3, which is all about expanding our internal capacity to hold the space for others, to hold ourselves and our own growth, and then to really bust through some of the ceilings that limit our capacity. And so I'm going to be talking all about like the 5 hidden ceilings that really limit our capacity. We're going to roll into day 4, which is all about your certification does not equal credibility right off the bat. And we're going to be talking about what actually is, a credible health coach. What does that look like? What does it sound like? What does it feel like? And so we've got a whole amazing panel lined up for that, all across the board from, Vibely, we got AI coming in. We got, we're going to hear from, lots of amazing voices, and also, some grads and students too. And then we will move into the next week, and we're going to be talking about really how structure gives us freedom, whether you're an intrapreneur or an entrepreneur, and what that really looks like. So you're actually going to leave with tools, concrete tools on how to start building out your career as a health coach. Day 6 is going to be, they're all my favorite, but day 6 is going to be top notch, because we're talking about, I'm sick of seeing this field be in like a silo and kind of be dismissed and be off onto the sidelines, right? And kind of like a shrinking violet. I'm like, no, we need to get in the game here. And so what I've been seeing, has been working with my health coaches, and I've been working with organizations like yours and others, is that we're actually here to collaborate and bring people together. And we need to do this together. We cannot do this alone. There is an I in well-being. So darn it, because I like that word better. But we'll just say there's no I in wellness, right?
There's no I in wellness. How about that?
I know. So little, cliche, whatever, but it makes sense. And so we're here to work together. And so we're going to be bringing, talk about collaboration and how you can get your work out into the world and collaborate. And then day 7 is really about integration and making a decision. And I'm going to be unveiling a new program that we have that is going to, I think, up-level health coaches in a completely new way. And what I mean by that is be looked at and respected in the field by providers, doctors, organizations, and to have people who are like, I need to work with you. I want to work with you. How can we work together? And so I'm going to be sharing that. It's a little, something to keep your interest. But whether you move forward with that or not, it's still going to be a very transformative event and journey. So I invite you to come with that. And I'm wondering if we can even have people like comment below the video, like I'm in, or leadership. Let's have you comment leadership if you want the link, and we'll send you over the registration link and get you all set up. And you'll have all the replays. It will be live, but it'll also be recorded. So it's going to be a good time. There's going to be prizes and fun things, because I'm going to reward you for your leadership, for showing up. I don't care if you post on social. That's fun and that's nice, but I want you in the room, and I want you active and participating. And we're going to try it on for size in a safe container and space first. So it's going to be fun. I'm excited for it. So, and I'm excited for you.
I'm super excited for this, Elyse. When you mentioned what you're working on, and just decided to be in the audience, to be on stage, both, and really that synchronous opportunity for us to connect, right? That's where the magic happens. Emails are great, but that in that spontaneous kind of, someone said this podcast from now. New phrases came to mind from what you were saying back and forth, right? You need to have, if comparison is kryptonite for creativity, I think synchronization is the opposite of that. It's like the fodder for, like, if you're being live in person, it's kind of some of the substrate for that initial that new ideas. So I'm super excited to be involved in this. The team you're putting together. I know the kind of quality of work that you hold yourself to, and that you're showing us that bar and helping us raise the bar too as well. And I won't give the spoiler for what the last thing is, the last day. And I am super excited for other people to know about that as well. So if anything, for this scratch of curiosity, go there because you're going to get something from there. And there's a cool thing after as well. But there's something for everyone at this conference. Really excited to be part of that. Elyse, you mentioned, in the meantime, people listening, they can make a comment. We're on different kind of different networks. How else do people find out about it or message you to learn more about it? We're going to make sure we help promote it as well. But where can people, reach out to learn more and sign up for the Health Coach Leadership Summit?
Good question. Okay, so it's not 100% live just yet. I mean, the page is live, but it's nothing you can like go to the website and find just yet. We will really start pushing it, out and marketing it probably in a couple of weeks here because it's May 19th, so we're like about a month out. But if you're interested, you can DM me on any of the social channels or just email me, Elyse, ELYSE at ElyseWagner.com. We'll get you the link over or just, comment below and leadership and we'll get you that link, registration link. I'd love to have you, whether it's for one or all of the sessions, but come be a part of it. It's free. And I will say this, a little bold statement here. The health coaches who are going to be in the room are the ones who are going to be moving this field forward, period. So be there because you deserve to be there and we need you there. We need your voices. So yeah.
Yeah, and thank you for making it free for at least kind of help lower that barrier, right? And so now there's really no more excuses. So comment below, and then what we can do at least once the site is up, we can update the information and include this site as well. So if you're listening to this later on, it might already be there. But if not, send us a message. Send Elyse a message. She's really great to get a hold of, really quick to respond. As you can tell, really passionate. And Elyse, just so happy, moment of gratitude for what you've done for the field, and more importantly, you're continuing the field. And so awesome to be collaborating this way. This is a dream come true.
Yeah,
exactly.
We're just getting started.
We're still at base camp. We're at base camp.
We're gonna have fun while we're doing it, right? We're gonna do it with joy as well. And so I tell my students, like, listen, it's not always gonna be easy, but we are gonna do it with ease. Two different things.
Nice.
So but we're gonna have fun while we do it, and we get to do it together. And so there's an African proverb that I love that talks about like you can go fast alone, but you can go farther together. And I'm about like go farther together. Let's do this together. Yeah. And it does. It takes a village. So
let's form the village together and have a little powwow. Elyse, thanks so much for being on again. Thanks to our listeners again. And reach out, and we'll see you at the Health Coach Leadership Summit May 19th, lasting about a week, an hour and a half each day, completely for free. If you can, make every single one of them. It's a really dynamic and exciting event.
Thank you so much. Bye, everyone. Thanks so much.